Oh, I know. Oh, I know.
Hello, friends, and welcome to Talking with Famous People. I'm here. I'm host Eric. I'm live streaming, and none of you can stop me.
A little bit like a robot. Me and my torch.
Me and my torch. We're a go anywhere, do anything kind of couple. Me, my map gas, my lights.
What about me? What about me?
Well, what about Kimberly? Kimberly can come too. Me and my torch and Kimberly allowed to come too.
Can my brother come too?
Yeah, he can come if he wants to, but he doesn't want to go along. He wants to stay here and watch movies. So anyway, happy Friday night to everybody. I had some delicious Chinese food for lunch, and
Then again for dinner.
then after lunch I ejaculated into Kimberly, which caused me to go to sleep shortly thereafter. I took a nap, and then
Eric!
when I awoke this evening, I had a second wind.
I hope you
My
don't
first-
have your mother watching.
My first wind was inadequately brisk a wind to carry me all the way through till nighttime. Is 7th slot SI and ENTJs as crippling as 7th slot SE and INTPs? Well, the thing about that is it depends what you mean by crippling. So I consider ENTJs and ENFJs kind of crippled. Like,
Anybody.
they're telling me what?
It's on YouTube, kid.
How obscene you are.
Oh, I'm not obscene. I'm just clinical in my descriptions. Oops, where I dropped that weed. Okay, so the answer to that question is, I mean, yeah, I think they're just as crippled. I find ENFJs to be, in a sense, the most tragic type. And the reason being because they don't really have a clear sense of their own experience as making them distinct. They see themselves as reflections of a universal pattern.
Him. I still can't get over what he said. And what he does. Nothing short of ejaculating online. Oh, but wait, he's done two. And got caught.
Kimberly, can you stop making troubles? Okay, so is everything a verb? No. Everything is a noun. Seems to me to get some functions in 7th slot get in the way of operationalization. Well, that's a way of putting it. I think you're saying basically that a critical element in any process is the capacity to operationalize, take it from the abstract into the concrete with action plan of some sort, and that SC polar would limit one's ability to do that. That makes sense, but I guess I'd say there's an equivalent, an equivalently vital process to each of the polars. Some easy to understand, I guess, is SC. What are you guys giggling about over there?
I was telling him about the time you broke your finger while scratching your ass.
Oh. My father's ENFJ has a really hard time anchoring in his accomplishments, of which he has many. Right. They don't, I mean, I can't imagine being an SI seeker. It seems very tragic to me to be denied a clear of the satisfaction to be found in attending to the self and self-care and, you know, the sensory pleasures of the self as well. So I find it tragic. Do you have any opinions on DSP's animal functions? Like sleep being JIPI, PI plus JI, consume being Okay, well, I mean, what I have to say about this is, so I got a comment from one of DSP's students, I guess, who's I think quite a aficionado of DSP, and the weird thing about it was that it's so. I think it's revelatory. So let me find it of what's wrong with this whole idea. Okay, so let me see. The thing is, where is it? Well, I can't find the comment. I'm sorry. But anyway, basically what it said is that I'm a certain kind of ENTP who I wish I could find it. It's got to be on the DSP video. I'll find it. It's kind of ENTP that is purportedly ISTP like. Now just think for a second how ridiculous this is. And ISTPs are unable to ideate on the fly at all. So how could one possibly be at all like an ENTP? It doesn't make any sense. It's insane to say that there's an ISTP like ENTP subtype. But you'll see what he says about. I'm on the video now where the comment is somewhere, so I'll be able to find it. Let's see. So he says here that the comment starts. He says at 2956, where you determine it's an ENTJ, it's literally right after he describes that all EJs are tribe above self, meaning they are going to check in with 10 other people before coming to their own conclusion. The self above tribe people are going to come to their own conclusion and need 10 other people to contradict them before they even consider they might be wrong. So I asked this guy what he means by tribe above self. And he says, it'd be a language issue. Tribe above self or self above tribe have clear definitions. It's you who are swimming in metaphor by neglecting the precise definitions of these terms. Subtypes whose lead animal tandem function usage includes an extroverted judging function or tribe above self. Those who lead animal includes an introverted judging function is self above tribe. Okay, but TE and FE are tribe functions, TI and FI are self functions. So he's not answering my question at all. Because what I say is, I point out this. I say tribe above self isn't a real distinction. Every person is self first. Every function is an expression of a person paying attention in a certain way with individuated purpose linkage to that to which one attends. One looks to validate things in 4 ways. The interface functions FE and TE validate against external data. For FE, it's social data. For TE, it's non-social data. This seems pretty straightforward and obvious to me, right? But what he concludes is that ENTJs are tribe above self because they check with 10 people first before they do anything. No, not necessarily. Even if they do, it's not because, I mean, that's the thing. That's why I say meaningfully define it. Are you saying they use consensus as a legitimacy metric? In which case you're just saying FE. Are you saying something different? It reminds me of the Connecticut Yankee and King Arthur's Court. In that book, there's a scene where the guy from the future is trying to explain to them that there's a group of dumb Middle Ages workers, right? And they go, "We want more money," and the smart Middle Ages guy who's trying to take advantage of the situation goes, "Okay, instead of $100, then from now on you're going to get 250-cent pieces. And all the workers like, hooray, hooray. Bye, Haley. All the workers are like, hooray, hooray. And the Connecticut Yankee in King Arthur's court says, hold on, you guys. Look, that's the same thing. It's the same goddamn thing. He's not doing anything there. And they just they don't get it, and they celebrate the fact they get twice as many of half as valuable things. So that's what it feels like here in this comment, right? Because I point out that tribe above self needs to be defined as something specific. Is it a interface metric? I mean, is it a legitimizing metric? In which case, if it is, which function does it correlate with? And he doesn't get the question. He says, well, you know, it's pretty obvious that David's self above tribe. And I go, okay, well, define it meaningfully. And he goes, this must be a language issue. Tribe above self above tribe, a clear definition linked to the functions. The clear definition he provides is this ridiculous thing of, if 10 people tell you, or if 10 people, or you go ask 10 people, but that's not a literal metric, right? That's just a metaphor that means I consult other people, and everybody consults other people sometimes and doesn't consult other people sometimes. It's a meaningless distinction that they refuse to define in any meaningful way. If you're saying it's an attribute that some types have to be more likely to consult other people, okay, fine. It might be the case that some types are more likely to consult other people than others, but that correlates with FE. Now, it's true that TE types may end up consulting other people too. Why? Well, sometimes that's the best way to get something accomplished, and TE is about effectiveness and efficiency. So when the ENTJs consult 10 people, they're not looking for approval. They're gathering data because they're TE DOMs. They know how to gather data. And so they do that. Sometimes the data doesn't impact their decision making. Sometimes it does. Sometimes it's utterly meaningless data, like the data Dave Superpowers collects. So, there's that whole thing. And then he says, all INTPs, ISTPs, INFPs, and ISFPs are self-above tribe. Of course, again, it's still not defined. Dave and Shannon's novel contribution is that the EPs and IJs can be either, because EPs can be either lead consume, like you, self-above tribe, since you have any TI as your primary tandem function usage, or lead play, which is tribe above self. Except I'm, in any meaningful sense of those terms, tribe above self, I would be considered tribe above self, in the sense that I'm mostly concerned with other people's perspectives about me, not my own perspective. Think of Robin Williams as ENFP with lead play, NETE. How different lead play EPs are from lead consume. You can observe it. Think how different you are from some ENTPs who are always cracking jokes and stuff. You have a double active TI in the OP system, in my estimation. That is part of the reason why you are a TI heavy ENTP, compared to an NE and FE heavy ENTP who has, for instance, play and blast or play and consume working together. These things aren't real things. They're just random fucking words that DSP is assigning to different types that he's got a justification for that doesn't hold any fucking water. So I'm sure that the thing is justified in some capacity by DSP.
They've been scientifically proven.
But it doesn't hold any fucking water, because the thing is, first of all, it's not meaningful to say, this is why subtypes are not very meaningful. Using my extroverted intuition and my introverted thinking and my extroverted feeling, I express as a variety of different things. I'm expressed as somebody who's serious in TI and then a lot of other sort of creativity stuff. So what does this thing mean? It's like play and blast or play and consume. What is that? This explanation is not an explanation. It's a description of these arbitrary distinctions that he's making. He doesn't explain why this types would be like that. it doesn't explain at all why we should afford this any legitimacy. Because EPs can be either lead consume like you, self above tribe, or lead play, which is tribe above self. It doesn't explain anything. What is it? Why is it like that? Define them, I say, as per functions. Answer my question. Is it a validation criterion or not? And he says, I think the words self and tribe are being used differently in your rationale above from how Dave uses them. It would be better to just start with animals, which are grouped into the energy animals. Play, extroverted judging plus extroverted perceiving. Sleep, introverted judging plus introverted perceiving. And thus the information animals. And the information animals, blast, extroverted judging plus introverted perceiving. Consume, introverted judging plus extroverted perceiving. They further pair with each other as saviors for a person. So you, for example, are consume sleep, meaning your lead animal is NETI and your auxiliary animal is TISI in my assessment. Okay, well, I don't have any animals. Are you talking about actual animals? No, you're saying that I have function pairs. My lead animal NETI. If by that you mean my first two functions. My auxiliary animal, by that you mean my second two functions, are FESI, not TISI. And it can't be anything but that. The cognitive functions are also gendered. I believe you have feminine NE and feminine TI. How dare you? I have transgender NE and transgender TI. Okay? My God, the gender imperialism of these people is astonishing me and appalling me at the same time. This gives you a conventionally masculine tough guy persona. This is funny to hear because I have never been this person, this masculine tough guy persona, where you are very rough on people when you blast, but are much more flexible and open-minded when you consume. I don't blast and consume. I engage in continual expressions of being that are expressions of my foreconscious functions mostly. Given the formula for the animals, I don't really need to describe the animals because you can simply witness that particular cognitive function usage. When you blast, you check internally with your SI to make sure you are on track moving towards your goal. SI is a process manager function. And you interface with the other using your MFE. When you consume, you're checking for elegance, legitimacy, consistency, etc. while using TI while observing with NE. No, I'm not. That's so fucking wrong. When I blast, I check internally with my SI to make sure you're on track moving towards the goal. SI is a process manager function. See, this is a concept of SI that's made by somebody who has no fucking idea what SI is. What?
You sure it's not him?
I don't know who it is. It doesn't matter who it is. The point is the ideas are wrong. The thing is, SI, yes, it's true that one of the things that one does with an attention manner, keeping track of things, is to reference back to the things you kept track of to keep track of what you're doing and where you're going. But it's also true that SI provides all the associative random links that I use for NE. So if I'm making up a story on the fly and I talk about glasses, I might link to, somebody I know who wears glasses, like Chris Morrow, my childhood best friend. And I might think of the street he was on, Hugo Reed. And I might think of his room and how we'd play guitar in there together or something. I don't know. The point is, I might then get a link from glasses to guitar. And that would seem to be kind of a random leap, but there's a logic to it, which is an SI logic that comes from memory of experience. So SI is a lot more than keeping track of shit. It's the partner of conscious NE. It's what NE looks to as a data stream internally. NE can utilize SE externals as prompts for data streams. So in that same story, I could just look around the room and say flashlight instead of looking in my mind. But if I do look in my mind, I'm going to be looking for experiential associative links like that. And that's the part of SI that's not considered in that commenter's explanation of things. Let me smoke this bowl. Each animal also has push and pull variants such that TI-SI will be overtaxing the SI to provide data for TI to check. What? Pulling more than SI can provide, whereas your NE-TI consume is push insofar as your NE will be pushing more data to TI than TI can handle. Well, that actually makes sense. And that part of it, I don't have a problem with, I guess, because it makes sense. But I don't know where. Oh, there it is. Okay, so the push-pull, and it is true that TI right, so TI will pull more data from SI than SI can provide, and NE will push more data to TI than TI can handle. I would say you're always going to, I mean, it's sort of true, but the other problem with it is NE pushes a lot of data that TI doesn't have any opinion about. And that's what is the reality of it. So if I'm ideating stuff, only sometimes is it TI relevant. And the stuff that I'm pushing towards TI is usually perfectly capable of managing. TI is perfectly capable of managing it because I'm not trying to push added complex nodes. But if I do push added complex nodes, well, that's going to be true for anybody that when you go to a deliberative function like TI from an action function like NE, that you've got to slow down and deliberate. I mean, that's implicit in the thing. So it's not really these metaphors that they use, they're getting really caught up in their metaphors, and they're not good metaphors even. I mean, one of the reasons why there's no possible way that this ridiculous system of his can work out correctly is that he's got one fundamental thing wrong to begin with, and that's going to make everything else fail completely, which is he's got TE as universalist and FE as universalist, and TI and SI and TI and FI is both particularist. Well, that's wrong. So, I mean,
don't you think you should have done a video rather than a live stream if you're expecting people to ask you questions? You're just babbling on and not answering any questions.
Oh, I'm in the middle answering a long question, which is.
Jesus, well, come on.
Well, An SE user in a room is absorbed by the beautiful decor. An SI user is there looking through a keyhole, fascinated by the room they just came from. Thoughts? Yeah, it's a good little vignette. It explains things. What if I'm really good at remembering long-term stuff from way back, but SI is not my conscious stack? Well, then what I would guess is you probably, I mean, I would ask, how good are you at remembering stuff from not so way back? And the other thing I would say is it's possible you constructed certain, like if you're an ENFJ, for example, you'll construct certain archetypal stories that you can tell to people that aren't necessarily true, but that you kind of remember as though they were because SI is irrelevant anyway. If SE is paying attention to what's happening in the moment, then is SI on its own paying attention to what happened in the past? No, I mean, SI can pay attention to what's happening in the moment too. When I just scratched my nose because it's itchy, I'm paying attention to something my body's telling me, namely that my nose is itchy. So you can certainly pay attention in real time via SI. The reason SI manifests as it does, well, is there are two kinds of what are you laughing at, Kim?
You said I scratched my nose because my body tells me that it's itchy, but I was wondering, what does your penis tell you when you're like rubbing it under the desk 15 hours a day?
Kimberly, I don't even know what to do with this woman sometimes. It's like she's a loose cannon in the sense that you never know. All right, let's see. What am I looking for here? Object. Remember the permanence. I remember the other of the two kinds of thing that I'm talking about. God damn it. I'm having trouble finding shit tonight. Object permanence and what is the other one called? So if you don't know what object permanence is, object permanence is when, as a baby, is a point when peekaboo is no longer fun for a baby because it realizes constancy. That's what it's called. Okay. So the other one is called shape constancy. Thank you, Joseph House. So permanence and shape constancy. Object permanence is SI, and shape constancy is NI. So basically, when you first are a baby and you realize that objects are permanent, you're saying that even though I'm not looking at it, it stays there. And I can rely on it being there again for me when I come back to it. So in order to know myself, I need to know what resources I have available. And I need to know permanent. They're not going to go anywhere.
Telling me.
Okay, so that's object permanence, and that's what SI is rooted in. Shape constancy is what NI is rooted in. Because it's saying, even though this thing looks different as I turn it in front of me. What?
Me and Matthew were joking around.
Even though this looks different from different angles, it's still the same thing. My perceptions will reveal something to be different all the time, but my understanding will reveal it to be a single thing with an identity that's distinct from other things and distinct from how it looks in the moment, that it retains its identity despite it apparently changing shape or form in the moment. So that's what NI is rooted in, is noting the identity of things that are really patterns. Like, so this MAP gas torch is a pattern of a sort that when we're little babies, we have to put together the idea that this is a single thing, because probably when we're born, it's like you're on super acid, right? Everything kind of just blends together, and you don't know what meaning to make from this wash of color and sound and other kind of data coming at you. You've got no frame, you've got no scaffolding upon which to process it, and that grows over time by a couple of things. First comes object permanence, and then comes shape constancy. And so the reason first comes object permanence is because it's the native animal physical way of understanding things. And the reason second comes subject shape constancy is because it's the metaphysical or symbolic understanding of the same thing. And it's more removed from reality in some regard than straight up SI understandings of things. Okay. Worth noting that see what you do to me, Kim. Spleffy Dawkins says that I'm whipped.
You're right.
She's my foil. Yeah, thank you, MBTI gift. That's a little bit better than I'm whipped. Let's see. How do I know if FSI is in my second or NI? Well, if NI is in your second slot, then you're an ENFJ or an ENTJ. If SI is your second slot, then you're an ESTJ or an ESFJ.
I'm really bored.
We can go inside, sweetie.
No.
Okay, well then. Do you know that Hussein Varani actually thought I was a cop? He said he thought I was a police officer. I had to explain that no, I'm just a type police officer. I was reading about inferior SI from a Tumblr blog that describes her experience as bad imagined memory from her NE. For example, she would come home, see her mother had made a steak, put it on a plate, and shove it up her ass. That means she's an ESFP. Put it in the microwave and go to the bathroom, except the microwave part never actually happened. She just imagined it very vividly. Well, I have a similar story actually from my own personal experience of I had this this mixtape that when I was like 18 or something, I had a cassette player in my car and I had a tape that had among the things on it were some Beatles songs. And one of the songs on it was that song Piggies by the Beatles. I don't know if you're familiar with it. But then I had this other tape though that didn't have that on there, but it had the song that came before it on the other tape. So one of the songs was on two tapes and one of the songs was just on one tape, right? So I was listening to the tape that didn't have the song on it.
What's the tape?
And it got to the end of the song that comes before Piggies on the other tape, right? And then it was the end of that side of the cassette though. So there was some blank space at the end of the cassette on that side. And so that song ended, and then in my experience, Piggies came on. And I heard it and I was listening to it the whole time. And then all of a sudden the tape flipped over onto the other side of the tape and started playing, and I realized it wasn't playing. It had never been playing. And I went back and rewound and listened, and it wasn't there, and I couldn't believe it. Yeah, it's something I still remember to this day because it was tripping me out so much. It was like, I know I heard that. I was listening to it, clear as day. I mean, I think, yeah, well, it's an associative thing, right? The first thing is the associative link is so powerful because I listened mostly to the other tape probably, and I heard that song ended and then Piggies came on. That song ended and then Piggies came on. That song ended and then Piggies came on. So it's like such a powerful SI link that I just heard it somehow. I don't even know. Here, Kimberly. If Kimberly were a Care Bear, she'd be Kimberly that complains a lot there. It is possible that I jumped dimensions. I can't believe you know the bit you watched the video where I talked about that. I do remember talking about that in a video before, but that had to be a long time ago. You have the cigarettes? Guess what? Kimberly had something to say. And shockingly, it was yet another complaint. Hi, I think I'm INFJ. Think of the NITI loop. When I divulge in these matters of attention, I become very metaphysical and deliberative. What do you mean divulge? Also, how would Enneagram 5 impact my INFJness? So divulge means to reveal something that's secreted in some capacity. So I think you're not using the right word there. But yeah, probably indulge. But I think that would. I mean, the thing is, I don't really buy a loop much. I do get that you can get into a bit of a loop with SI and well, I used to get into loop for little stretches of time with, I guess you'd say NESIFE, where I'd go over and over again in my head a social thing that I was awkward in or played badly, and I felt embarrassed. And that's good to hear, Stephanie. It's really good to hear. Stephanie mentions that I was in her dream last night, and I was her neighbor, and there were many chickens, and I type-policed her. Well, I hope you passed. You passed, and I let you go, and you didn't have to spend the night in jail. So I don't know about the loops thing. I don't really buy it, but I do understand the idea of like working through the process of processing something that's unpleasant. It might take some time. I don't really know if that qualifies as a loop. I would also say I note that when my dog died, I went into hardcore SI mode, by which I mean I did a lot of nesting. You could say eventually I went into Enneagram 6 mode. I cleaned up my house, made sure I was comfortable, watched TV, fed myself soup, all the kind of things that are SI gratifying. So if someone has a lot of premonitions and they come true, what types could that be? Well, premonitions and they come true. Well, I guess you'd have to say, I guess I would ask, first of all, how much attention is that person giving towards confirmation bias? So is the person actively attending to the hits and the misses? Because I sometimes call things, predict things correctly, but I make a note of both hits and misses. So I realize I miss more often than I hit, for sure. A person who's not making note of that actively will conclude that their premonitions are atypically accurate, but be wrong because they're not accounting for confirmation bias. So if the individual in question having a lot of premonitions accounts for confirmation bias, you hear a non-audible voice to tell me to do something. Non-audible. You hear words in your head, like somebody's talking to you. Or maybe do you see the floating heads in the sky like in Star Wars, where Obi-Wan comes and floats around and says like that? Okay, so you hear voices in your head, then that means you have probably some sort of mental illness. But I mean, the thing is, what do you mean by hearing voices in your head? I never quite understood what that is, but the understanding that I've gotten from reading shit is that it's as mental illness. It's as though a voice external to them, but clearly audible to them, is speaking to them in their head. That they don't recognize it as their own thoughts in any capacity. So if that's what's happening to you, then you should go to the mental health professional. Oh, well, if it's warning you of danger, and then, I mean, I don't know. It's like, I remember when I was in middle school, I had an experience in the pharmacy, the Save-On pharmacy near my middle school. My friend Chris Morrow and I had gone in there to steal stuff. I think Chris had stolen something there before. Maybe I had too, and gotten away with it. And had to go back and steal something again. But we went in there, and I just got the sense, having, I guess, reading the employees in the store, that they were kind of paying attention to us, like got their eyes on us. And I just got a bad feeling that I shouldn't do anything. So I didn't do anything, and he did, and he got busted, and I got away for free because I didn't do anything. So I didn't hear any voice in my head telling me this. I just sort of recognized that I had a bad feeling about this, and I shouldn't do it this time. We're gonna get caught, or it's just too risky, or it's not worth the chance. So yeah, I don't hear non-me voices in my head. I have had some sort of auditory hallucination. Okay, this person says, did you ever smell a cigarette and a peanut butter sandwich? Nasty. Well, is the cigarette in the peanut butter sandwich? Or has it been lit before? If it's just a cigarette that's not been lit before, and it's just sitting on top of the peanut butter, I would suggest pulling the cigarette off of the peanut butter and then eating it. Now, if the cigarette's been lit before, then you're going to get at least some ash and charcoal on your peanut butter. So that would dissuade one from doing that. But you could possibly scrape that bit off and still eat the sandwich or the peanut butter. So with cigarette smoke, like let's say you're one of those fancy chefs who likes to smoke things, but instead of smoking it with like hickory smoke or something, you use cigarette smoke. You're saying the sandwich has been infused with cigarette smoke by a fancy chef. The thinker, are you trolling? I remember you mentioning in one of your recent videos there are 512 subtypes. Are those just different variations of the usages of functions? There are not 512 subtypes. It's insane. It's stupid. So anyway, let's go back to the new hot cooking technique in celebrity cooking, and that is tobacco infused with tobacco smoke. Particularly pipe smoke, pipe tobacco. Then you really get the flavor of old England. MBTI Gift says, Eric, as I understand it, NI over TI loop is having then analyzing insights over and over until you've experienced various negative side effects. It doesn't sound feasible. I go through this sometimes. Well, I would say that is possible. I can understand how you do that. You get stuck on something like that. Like I talked about with my social failure thing. But I guess a loop is a good enough term for that, but I don't think you get stuck in loops for very long. Maybe a couple of days maximum. So let's see. Matthew Ellister says, thoughts on marmalade? too British? It's a good question, Matthew. It's a good question. Almost too British. But I'll tell you what you can do. Put your marmalade on an English muffin that actually helps cancel out some of the Britishness of it, because English muffins are American. Let's see. What about inferior grips? I do think you can be in the grip of your inferior function for a bit. I think it's usually a good thing. It's like it's a positive reaction to trauma. If you're going to react to trauma well, of any sort of trauma, whether it's trauma by another person or trauma by act of God, like I had with my dog getting killed by a car, whatever kind of trauma it is, if you're reacting to trauma well, you are going into your fourth function. Let's see. The loops usually come from an overconfidence in their third slot. Maybe I've never been overconfident in my third slot, but maybe that is an issue for some people. Maybe loops more of an introvert problem. That's a good suggestion, Matthew. I can get stuck working on a very large problem for weeks, months, and it's an energy drain. Yeah, when she gets too TI heavy, I walk away. It's like, okay, it's too much work. I'm not in ignore the description, which says if you want to join the conversation, join in TWFP/. That's in general. It's not actually specific to this live stream. I'm not in the room right now. I'm just here on the live stream. Because of the new way that this live stream thing sets up, it's really easy, and I don't know, I like this way. I think it's a kind of synesthesia to say a verbalization of feelings or intuition, like thoughts are sometimes visual or sometimes audible. I'm new, just sub. Do people with unibrows have a higher intelligence? Depends on the kind of unibrow, oddly enough. For people with what's known as the camel unibrow, which is the one with it goes up in the middle, then the answer is no. For people with a flat or down unibrow, the answer is sometimes you have a very beautiful brow, singular, straight or down going unibrow, means you're a genius. Would extroverts be in a second and fourth loop? Well, I can't. I don't know. I've never been in a TI-SI loop. I don't know what that would be like. Remembering the logic of something over and over again. Why would I bother? Logic is, for me, is tool function. Tool functions you use to do things and you don't use when you're not doing things. So I only use TI when I'm doing TI stuff. Unibrows might be the key to understanding the universe, but we'd have to determine some other questions first. Questions regarding the nostrils, mostly. My universe is getting worse than the Oasis lead singer. I'm going to take care of it at my haircut. I hope that doesn't cost extra. Well, it depends if you want to get your universe colored or not. As long as you don't ask where the barber was when you were getting high. You just keep thinking about things that happened over and over and it sucks. Well, that would be SI, not TI. TI is not about things that happen. It's about making decisions about statuses and stuff. These are some thought-provoking questions. Thanks, Brody Blue, for complimenting the questioners who were questioning around you. Would toes be a variable in understanding the universe and the amount of hair they have on them? No. You're barking up the wrong tree there entirely. Completely wrong. So, sometimes people are right, sometimes people are wrong. Synesthesia smells like NI. That's funny. Oh, Joe. Oh, no. Hairy toes are Neanderthal like yo. Right, they are Neanderthal. Remember, we didn't evolve from Neanderthals. We popped into being concurrently with them. thanks to the magic life-creating machine that made all those things. How long have I been writing songs? Your Type Please song is stuck in my head. So congrats on that, I guess. You don't normally see that mistake with your. You usually see it the other way. It should be Y-O-U-R, but you made it U-R. Hey, your boyfriend needs to stay away from my chicken, all right? My piece of ass. So the answer about the songs is, since I was about 21 or 22, which is 20 plus years, I've already gotten a lot better over the course. I'm a pretty good songwriter. I appreciate you noting that the Type Please song is stuck in your head. Thank you for that. I've gotten a lot of positive feedback on Type Please song. I enjoy that. I appreciate it. I have a lot of good songs, though. Besides that, it's in a playlist on the front page of the channel. Matthew, I know that, and you know that.
Do you have your can I have that charger?
But when you're as hot as Red is,
It is red hot.
then you're gonna have to expect to be treated like a piece of meat, especially if you're a chicken, because people are used to dealing with you as a piece of meat.
Not me.
In the key of E major. I don't know what key Type Please is. Yeah, well, she did. Well, she didn't write the whole song. She just came in and laid down the vocals. She's a bit of a prima donna, frankly. Yeah, she insisted on smoking crack in the studio. I said, I would not let anybody else do this,
What are
Red.
you talking about?
Red.
She does not do crack.
She lies to Kim.
Eric.
Kim believes her.
Eric, don't tell people that.
Well, Kim, you weren't here when we were laying on the vocals for that.
It's not disgusting and dirty.
This weird kind of homelessly looking dude came in and gave her a little baggie and then walked out, and we're like, I'm like, what the hell was that, Red? It's like, shut up.
Eric.
A crack dealer. So,
I wouldn't say that.
Kimberly's offended. Red, yeah, she's got a lot of suitors. Everybody from Bon Jovi to Ronald Reagan. What's your view on the manifestation of the shadow type in people? I don't believe in that. I don't think you manifest your shadow type. What's my shadow type supposed to be? Would be, let's see, NITE, maybe INTJ. It's bullshit. I mean, what does that mean? I don't sometimes switch over and make my backside functions conscious through application of will or through circumstance or whatever. It just doesn't make any sense. I am my habits of attention. In the same way that your muscles and your body becomes an expression of the environment. Like when I was working at the LA County, when I was working for LA County Office of Education at a on-site facility that had to lift up adult retarded people who had like severe disabilities, couldn't walk and stuff. I had to lift them. I do that every day for a couple of years. My biceps got big and my arms got strong, and I got used to doing those sort of things. So the thing is, in even a more fundamental way, cognitive functions define who you are, and you can't escape that without being a different person. I can't imagine what it would even be like to encounter stuff and not come up with any ideas about it. Not think at all about how I could ideationally include this in some existing taxonomy or model or link it back to something that I'm already thinking about, because I'm SI using, right? So I'm constantly continuing threads of ideation in my head when I'm just walking around or whatever. Kimberly will sometimes ask me, "What are you thinking about?" Because sometimes I'm thinking about things like how she hurt my feelings or whatever. And I'll tell her, like, about half the time at least, "Oh, I'm thinking about how if this is metaphysical and that's physical, and yeah, all that kind of shit, right?" And what will have prompted it is usually some sort of experience that I link to some other experience in my SI. So some sort of SE data, which I link to some sort of SI data, and then I build off of that with NE. And I do have a tendency to find examples in my personal life, first of all, and to check with TI for consistency. Is this a pattern I see across the board, or is this just an exception or something that's particular? And I will generally but basically all the rules I've come up with for types or functions or whatever are extrapolated out from specific examples. So give me a few different specific examples in my own personal experience, and my NI will kick in and go, "Oh, this is probably expressive of something." Now, the thing is, the mistake I don't make, that DSP makes, is I don't think that the fact that these things are expressive of something means that we necessarily have to parse away a bunch of subtypes and a bunch of other unnecessary layers of nonsense. So let me look at the things here. Watch this. C.S. Joseph. Oh, yes, that's his name, C.S. Joseph. What if the MBTI type is just fake presentation of self, not the actual true self? Well, you're misunderstanding what the type is then. You're not a type. You express a certain habitual prioritization of attentional manners. And the reason you do that is because the ones that you habitually used really early in life became your reflexive way. Just as you become right-handed, you became a extroverted intuitor, an extroverted sensor, or introverted feeler, introverted thinker, extroverted feeler, extroverted thinker, or NI or SI or whatever. So what I'm saying is, if you're asking if one's type is descriptive of a person's external presentation of self, the answer is no. That's not all it is, and that's the main thing that makes it better than other explanations, is because it does account for the illocutionary frame. Understood correctly, cognitive functions understand that there are three. It's not object subject in general, including the self, which can function as a subject in a metaphysical capacity in your own head, and you have your actual self, which you're experiencing in real time and across time to a certain extent as well. It's stuff that doesn't ever get expressed externally. Your secret self. That's accounted for by cognitive functions. And so that's what makes it superior, is it acknowledges that there are deliberative functions which represent the process of being that is considering something internally against whatever metric you use, and that may be expressed or expressible via language, but doesn't need to be necessarily. So we have to be able to draw a distinction between the observer and the subject. I'm an observer first and foremost. I'm also a subject. So as a subject, I'm understood as something that takes action and creates impacts or has ownership of words. I can be quoted, etc. But as an observer, I have only my own interests and understanding of self to keep me company, so to speak. It's not something that it's the aspects of the self that can't be critiqued. Do you think their intuition is born out of trauma, and is there a connection between NI and wisdom? I don't think intuition is born out of trauma, because in general, if you say the word intuition, you're referring to either introverted intuition or extroverted intuition. What I believe is that extroverted intuition is an action function that certainly doesn't link to trauma, because it's the function that most expresses that I'm fundamentally safe and can take a lot of chances and fail a lot without incurring any harms because it's the most potentiating. Kind of lots of different potential approaches. Doesn't go with what's been tried and true before. Doesn't go with what's most efficacious necessarily. It goes with what's most novel and creative, and does so on the metaphysical plane instead of on a physical plane. So it's mostly just talking. And as a consequence, you've got to be pretty untraumatized, it would seem to me, to prioritize that kind of attention. To grow into a person who prioritizes that kind of attention, it would seem to me that during the period of time when you're growing into your attentional manner, and I'm not sure if that's in the womb after birth, I don't know. But whenever that is, there's got to be a non-traumatic period of time if the environment's responsible for you defaulting to one or the other function. Now, NI might be responsive to trauma, but it would have to be responsive to trauma of a certain kind. It's like it only makes sense as a response to traumas that it would provide solvency for. So knowing the universal truth would suggest that you can't rely on your particular experience, which suggests that that you're dealing with, I guess, somebody who's volatile. I was trying to parse this out the other day as well. I don't know. I'm not sure that in fact those environmental factors are responsible for personality type or for what your dominant function is. But if they were, then I guess NI would be a response to an environment that's very it's very non-predictable by experience, which would mean someone acts differently a lot, has a wide range of different behaviors. So I don't know. As a type police, how do you differentiate between INFP, TI-DOM, and INFP, FI-DOM people? Well, that's a tricky one, but the TI-DOMs, and basically, INFPs will not prioritize TI when it's put into conflict with things. They can use TI as long as it's just working to do a certain amount of utility towards something, but not when it's being used really to make personal decisions or anything. So you'd have to sort of position in questions to get the INFP to be consistent about prioritizing consistency as a metric. INFPs are pretty consistent about it. You mentioned before that caring about other people's feelings is an FI thing. Can you expand the difference between FI and FE on how they manifest when interacting with other people? Yeah, well, FI is, there's typically people say FE is empathetic and FI is sympathetic, but I would say that the distinction is kind of meaningless, empathy and sympathy in that capacity. I would say that if you're concerned by suffering, if suffering causes you to feel upset, as it probably should to witness suffering if you're a normal human being, unless you're a sociopath, those feelings are FI. If you're concerned about other people noticing that you're not displaying enough repulsion towards the suffering to meet some sort of standard or social norm, that's FE. FE is concerned with how you're perceived. And that does mean that you end up being, people who prioritize FE highly end up being very nice, because there are universal standards against which they judge success. So instead of using their own feelings as a success criterion, they use the universally desired criteria of being respected, being liked, being thought to be competent, being thought to be successful, other people liking to be impressed with you. That replaces their introverted feelings when they need to know what they want, and they're not anything that requires a more particularist metric. So for me, when I want to know what I want, well, what I really want is to be perceived well and success in that capacity and be famous and loved and whatever. So that's going to influence my decision making by saying like, oops, by working against my FI basically. So my FI is going to correlate with my NE, and it's going to say, well, I want to do what I feel like doing all the time. I don't want to do necessarily what people want to see. I want to make the video I want to make, not the video other people want to see. But my FE is going to win in that discussion, because ultimately I will end up making more type police videos than I will other kind of videos, because they get more views, because that's really what matters to me is that other people like it. So that's in that capacity. I'm using FE rather than FI, and you can see how they come into conflict with each other. If you have FE as an absolute value, as say the currency in which you get paid for the self, the way you validate experiences to yourself, like, was this a good experience for me or a bad experience? I'm going to validate it by FE. My nose is so itchy today. I don't know why. Thank you.
You were plucking your nose hairs earlier.
Yeah, that's possible. Let's see. Speaking of sociopaths, because sociopaths exhibit quality of different types, I assume that MPD would be the same way. What's MPD? Multiple personality disorder? I mean, I think that in general, sociopaths are likely to be ENFJs, because they're very manipulative, or I don't know, psychopaths or sociopaths, one of the two. Likely to be ENFJs because they're very manipulative and they've got very good fakery. And yes, ENFJs can fake being other types, for sure. They're good at it. But they can't do it forever, but they can do it. Okay, let's see here. As a type police, okay. About to cryness. FITI is not about to cryness. Right. Although I can be very about to cry sometimes, so it's not 100%. It's actually pretty easy to differentiate two types right off the bat. The resolve of TI and FI are quite different. What books are we talking about here? I like to read. Sentence thought is the function that people really don't want to be punished for ignoring, aka license to ignore. For example, ISTJ wants freedom from intending to FE in social contracts. I agree with Hambone there. You do want freedom. You expect and sort of demand freedom to ignore your seventh function. I mean, I do so successfully, you know. I'm unable to do anything else, really. Kimberly says, I have just one emotion, and I only have one emotion, I just push it around. That's what she says. When she told me that, I was like, it resonated as NI had good pop. That must be true, but I didn't really understand it. I still really don't. I guess I do just have, but I have recognized that, like, I say the same sort of FI-ish things when I'm going pee, because it feels good to go pee, as I do when I'm petting the cat, as I do when I'm talking to Kimberly. It's all basically the same thing. So I kind of do only have just one emotion, I guess, but I have two. I have good positive affection emotion, and I have anger. Let's see. I'm an FI Dom. An ISFJ once flipped out at me for not expressing enough grief in a sad situation. My feelings are on the inside. They aren't other people's concerns. Well, that's absolutely consistent with what an FI user would say, right? Is those people can worry about their own feelings. I'm concerned about how I feel about this. And that's totally consistent with FI. Listening to people, I listen and try to visualize what they're saying. Then after a pause, try to come up with a response quickly as possible. Does it sound like any of the functions? Sounds like NI, I guess, somebody who's using NI consciously. You know, you're saying you're trying to distill the thing into a singular little bundle. You're bundling your genitals. That's NI. Excuse me. I thought it was the sociopaths or ENTPs. I don't think so. I mean, ESPs are more likely to be perceived as that than ENTPs are, or even ESFPs, because they're more likely to act really like pathological about lying and stuff. They don't get that meanings matter. I think ENTPs are actually very soft. We're moist as hell in a certain sense. I've got no killer instinct. I like to compete, but I don't like to see other people sad. Megan LaMotta is not a sociopath. She's a little cutie. A little cutie patootie. I had to type please you for saying that, Matthew Alistair.
Yeah, he has a crush on her, Matthew. He won't admit it, but he does.
I don't have about to cry, was I don't think. Though someone did tell me that once. What the hell does that mean, Alistair? I don't have about to cry was I don't think. Huh?
He's probably had a few beers.
Maybe he's had a few beers, a few glasses full of emotion. Maybe sympathy is understanding others' emotions. Empathy is to emotionally react to others' emotions by mirroring them. Maybe. I think the distinction is kind of arbitrary. It really bites INFP and INTP in the butt, seeing as they want the license to ignore doing things physically. Right. Well put, Hambone. What exactly does polar stand for? Place of least resistance. Or point, I guess, could be true. I think it's place, but that's fine. Point is good enough. I wish I came with good questions, but all I can think about is how much fun it is to pee. It is fun. It's gratifying to pee. The older you get, the more satisfying it is because it becomes more difficult to pee. Is it possible? Am I still there? It said my connection was unstable. Looks like it's stabilized. TJ Music 24. A cognitive function configuration is the habitual and necessary configuration because of the mechanics of the things we're talking about. So
boring people. You're only up to 31 people.
Let's see. One time composed a lo-fi hip-hop beat where I peed in a toilet and mixed it to sound like it was rain falling. Beautiful joke. A beautiful urination story. I appreciate you sharing that with us.
Why don't you show them your urination story?
I don't have one.
Yeah, you do. It's a big gulp behind the door.
Oh, yeah, I pee in a cup sometimes. ENFPs are the most manipulative type, in your opinion? I don't think so.
That's your opinion.
Well, yeah. I mean, I do think so. I do think you're correct about that. I do believe that ENFP are the most manipulative type is your opinion. Everyone pull over. You're pulling everyone over right now? I don't have the about to cry FI look. Oh, I see you're referring to my earlier question. Of course, an ENTP enjoys a pissing contest more than else. Which will act on easing the suffering, FE or FI? Either one, potentially. I could see an FE person who's probably higher in the stack than I am, maybe a Dom, would undertake some very large undertaking to help people in order to get the social credit for it. You're welcome, Hambone. You deserve it. You've been in possession of that opinion for a long time now. It's yours by common law. You squatted long enough. I lit up the cherries. I lit up the cherries. You know what that means?
I got nothing.
I don't know. Unless you're saying I caused the hymens of virgins
Ew.
to tingle.
Ew. La la la.
Siren? Papa Cherry Hyren? I don't know what you're talking about, Sheila W. You're talking crazy talk from your crazy bone. Papa Cherry cop car. Siren. Oh, this you mean. This is pretty important. Okay. This miscommunication amuses me. Well, I'm glad. It serves a valuable purpose then. I missed any questions so far? No. Let's see. Introverted functions can be very smart in regards to being appealing. Yeah. They don't care about other people's perspectives on things
I
very
want a
much.
question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I'm saying they can ask me a question.
Oh, anybody can ask Kim a question too if you have any questions for Kim.
One at a time, one at a time.
You are my favorite superhero. I hope you win the lottery before inflation. I want you to be honest. Are ENFPs the dumbest of the types? No. They are not the dumbest of the type. I've met some very clever ENFPs with indefensible political opinions. You know, they're dumb. They may be dumbest about politics. That's possible. They may have the worst political positions, but they're not dumb. Kim, what is your favorite hobby?
Chickens.
Chicken caregiving. ESFP. Is ESFP the dumbest type? Maybe. It's not.
I hope that's a good thing.
Crazy lady in the basement. Kim, you remind me a lot of my mom. Just wanted to let you know that. My mom loves chickens too. I think this person is probably from England because she misspells mom. And Sheila W says,
80.
I love my chickens too, but 80.
I'm so jealous.
That's about 79 too many chickens. Oh, Australian.
Yeah, I was going to say, or Australian.
What is the best way to find out if my dad is an ISTJ or INTJ? Well, I mean, you can do a lot just by seeing what his interests are. If he's an ISTJ, he's interested in things like fixing mechanical shit and, you know, keeping himself healthy and eating a certain way and having good posture and dumb shit like that. They do things and feel good about them. ESFP, pretty smart, to be honest. Well, I mean, smart's a weird word, right? There are things that one might indicate are smart from a practical sense that are not analytically smart. Is there a reason introverted types are few in the population? Well, I mean, they're necessarily going to be deliberative. They're either going to be knowing first or judging first. So there's you could argue that there's less benefit to being that cautious than there is to taking more risk. I don't know. Can a great tonality in your voice. As an ENFP, you would not believe how annoying it is to hear so many people put on a fake voice on YouTube.
Meaning I don't sound like I fake?
Means you're pulling off your fakery pretty well, Kim.
I think I sound nasally when I hear myself back. I think I sound really nasally.
I think you sound great. I think you contribute. You do a great job of contributing to videos. Which type do you think is the smartest type?
You really think Eric is going to tell you anything other than an ENTP?
I don't think ENTP is the smartest type.
No, I know. You think it's I?
I think it's probably INTJ.
NTJ.
I mean, look, INTPs and INTJs, it's one of those two, and it depends how you define smart.
I was going to say.
INTP is smart like who's a super smart, like Feynman, Richard Feynman. He's a really smart INTP. But a really smart INTJ is like Nikola Tesla. That's like the smartest guy in history. Okay. Well, why don't I do online typing videos anymore? Well, trying to be more successful. So I'm doing the videos that get the most views. By far, the videos that get the most views are Type Please videos. They are more popular than my other videos by a substantial amount. The other thing is that because they've got a social networking kind of component to them, and I always put the link to, unless I'm really harsh, then I don't put it because I feel bad. But I'll usually put the link to my video on as a comment on their video, so that helps sort of, I don't know, does something. Regardless, that's my most successful course of action. So to the extent that I can stay disciplined and just make Type Please videos, then that's what I ought to do. But like, look at today, for example. I wasted the whole day, basically, going down wrong paths on a song I'm working on. And then in the evening, when I woke up after my nap and I first came in here, I felt kind of like groggy still. I didn't feel much energy. I just thought I'd live stream. I didn't feel like making Type Please videos. But I mean, live streaming is good too, because the stats on the live streams are pretty good. And so there's a reason to do that. And I like the format. But the thing is, it's the easiest thing I could possibly do in my life. Sit here and answer questions. I could just do this. It takes zero effort for me to do this, and it energizes me in general because I am an
We only
extrovert.
get to hear your voice and we're not talking over everyone else's.
Right. So if I wanted to be typed by you, all I have to do is get pulled over.
No.
Well, I mean, first of all, pulling you over and doing Type Please on somebody is not typing them. I am type checking them. So they get a status of correct or incorrect. If they're incorrect, they go to jail. I don't necessarily know what they are. I just know they're not that sometimes, you know?
So you go on out there, get yourself typed.
No, that's fine. It's up to you what
Believe
to.
yourself be something, and then we will find you on the net.
I wouldn't take their word for it. I'm not certain myself on the stats of extroverts and introverts, but I imagine it's close to 50-50. Brody, yeah, I don't know if I believe them or not, but according to them, INFPs, for example, were under 2%. Are certain types prone to be lefties? Yeah, NFPs. You should sell your ebooks for a $15 donation for your supporters while offering them for free at the same time. Okay, Matthew. That's a good idea, I guess. I'm not going to do that, but let's see. I think ISTPs excel with defined systems. For example, Magnus Carlsen is an ISTP and is a dominant world chess champion.
I think you should let me do a QVC of sorts. And while you're doing your live streaming, I can be in the background selling
random shit you pick up from around the house.
No,
Who wants this thing?
I'm going to sell our my cricket stickers.
Next on the auction block, Pot Frog.
I'm going to sell our stickers.
Okay. Comes with no pot.
I'm gonna sell your last Talking with Famous People T-shirt.
Do I hear $500?
I'm gonna sell your last Talking with Famous People T-shirt.
First man to discover laser beam shooting out of a pigeon's eyes was whom? Mr. Laser Pigeon Eye? Or was it INTJ? I'm not sure, but I hesitate to post it. Where am I? Let's see. Does Kim use Pinterest a lot? She has the voice of somebody who would. Kim, do you use Pinterest?
I do.
Yes, she does use Pinterest a lot. I really enjoy listening to you. Is it a sign of FE that I want you to read my comments? Probably. That would seem to be FE. If you feel, it depends. It's like if you're actually interested in hearing the answer to the question, like if you're actually curious about the answer to that question, that would be probably FI.
Okay,
But
ladies and gentlemen, today
it's probably
we have
FE.
a Talking with Famous People T-shirt. It is in a size large. Anyone? Anyone? Oh, it's just so pretty. It's ugly Kelly green and mustard yellow.
Kim hates my color choice. I made these shirts
Please
before I got with Kim.
Get rid of these shirts so I can design.
Matthew
new colors that
Alistair
are
wants the
actually-
shirt.
Okay. Do you wear a large? It's only one.
Is it a large?
It
Looks like a
is.
medium.
I know. It's kind of a small large. All right. Going.
Large if times one?
No.
What do you mean times one?
XL. It's not. It's like a small large.
Oh.
Going.
I see. He says large or XL.
Yeah,
He says.
We don't have any XL.
We don't have any XL.
No.
It might fit you. I don't know. Oh, you need triple XL? Wow. Alistair.
Don't say that.
Matthew has put on a little bit of weight in the last couple of days. He's now triple XL. What evidence do you have saying that lefties tend to be NFP? Well, not so much. I mean, I have personal examples in my life that suggest that that's a correlate. But beyond that, I would say it makes sense that they would be lefties because the mistake that lefties make is to mistake the earnestness of their correct native and physical moral response to a state of inequity as a impetus for action or political action without considering the way that other words contradict those words and make it such that we have to do something else without really considering the efficacy of it either. So you're talking about F above T and not TI. So that's the type who's most likely to be what you'd call the unintentional despot, the ones who don't mean to be but are causing massive harms to people without understanding that they're doing so because they don't get the way that if they don't get that you can't have your cake and eat it too. People who don't get that you can't have your cake and eat it too are going to be lefties. And that means FI tool, FI dom. And it probably means, the thing is, ISFPs are going to be apolitical. So are ESFPs in general. If they do have politics, it'll be random. They might randomly decide to attribute to themselves this group membership for this weird political thing, but who knows? It had nothing to do with logic at all, or even their own emotional engagement to the politics. It only had to do with their emotional engagement to their 6-slot FE for ESFPs. So you can predictably expect I to either be apolitical or to niche for no reason other than social reasons. CS doorbell George Joseph is a lefty. Maybe he's an INFP. No, he's an ENTJ. You could be You could be an ENTJ lefty. Like Chad Crandall is an example of a great ENTJ who I respect a lot. He's got great politics, and in fact, he's my second choice for my vice presidential candidate. What are you basing your claims on the nature of left-right dominance on? What do you mean left-right dominance? I'm saying that the reason NFPs are more likely to be left is because the left reflects the tendency of people to go with their native physical moral response to something rather than thinking it through in terms of its symbolic, whether it withstands muster symbolically. Because it turns out if it does, then we can reliably expect it to minimize injustice in the real world, and if it doesn't, then we can reliably expect it to maximize it. Yeah, political left or right. Am I a leftist? No. I'm not any particular. I believe in having the correct position on every particular policy issue for the correct reasons, and having the correct meta frame to understand those particular policy ascriptions. Well, Jordan Spike, I don't know if you're aware of this, but there was a video recently that I put up about somebody who was licking a doorbell for several hours, and one of the commenters pointed out, and I have to agree, it's true. It looked a lot like C.S. Joseph. It did. It looked a lot like C.S. Joseph.
It did not.
I'm just saying.
Oh, nothing like C.S. Joseph.
Well, what would explain this video anyway is here's an explanation I hadn't thought of before.
Dark
It
hair.
could be that C.S. Joseph was looking for my house because it happened relatively close to here, right?
Why? He wants to lick your doorbell?
What? No, he uses his taste buds it's like hot and cold, getting warmer, getting colder, you know, except with the taste buds and related to talking with famous people. He's been so frustrated at this point by the varying critiques I've leveled that he can taste talking with famous people. And the closer he gets to it, the stronger. He was pretty sure he was tasting it there at that house. That's why he kept licking the doorbell for 3 hours. It turned out he was wrong. It wasn't my house. I think the main reason I want you to respond to my comments is because I know I am an Enneagram 5 and I have a hunger for knowledge. Can you tell me your thoughts on Enneagram 5 and especially in response to INFJ? Enneagram 5, I would say it's the response to fear that I'm least familiar with myself. So I respond to fear foremost by playing the day away. Second, by building up my defenses or my nest. Only last do I try to understand the thing I'm afraid of. And so to be the other way around means you're still going to be necessarily reactive to the problem, but it's going to be a lot more purposeful, non-decisive time spent in dealing with the thing than is mine, which is playing the day away. So in some sense, it's a way to maximize the efficacy of introversion, I guess you could say, because 6 is another way of approaching it that is introverted, but it's less responsive or less directly reactive towards the thing that you are afraid of. Okay, so let's see. Oh, he does look like him. It must be the beard. Can you tell me your thoughts on Enneagram 5 and INFP, how that would differ from INFJ 5? I would say an INFP 5 is going to be one who's less. Well, it's going to be one who relies heavily more on their tool function in that kind of response to stimuli. So if your stimuli is fear, and it could be something you're dreading, like work that's been assigned that you keep putting off, that's a perfect example for how you react to things. A 5 INFP is going to spend the experience of putting that off by living in the feeling of the fear, because that's going to be the kind of reflection that they're doing on it, the kind of critique they're doing on it is a feelings-based critique, not a TI-based critique. So an INFP 5 is going to be one who is probably less avoidant as a 5 than an INTP, because INFP has to carry the weight of their deliberation as well as the time, as well as devoting the time towards it. Whereas INTP removes the weight from it as a matter of course, as part of doing the disinterested calculus. So in that capacity, I would say the INFP 5 is going to be less avoidant, and the INFJ 5, who's using TI instead of FI, is going to be more avoidant. So how would the different Enneagram types look with different function types? Well, I just gave you an example right there. I'm not, I don't spend a lot of time talking about Enneagram functions linked, but it is something that I think is pretty effective way of making the cognitive function model answer all. You need subtypes if you have an Enneagram for sure. And you're talking about, INFP 5 is going to look different than INFP 7. INFP 7 is going to be way more avoidant than INFP 5 when it comes to shit like procrastinating and stuff. INTP 5 is going to be way more avoidant than INFP 5, but less avoidant than INFP or INTP 7. So, if you just think about it like that, you kind of piece together the rest of it. Is daydreaming an FI thing, an SI thing, or just a normal human thing? I suppose it would make a difference on what is being daydreamed about. It would make a difference on what's being daydreamed about. For me, it's an NE thing. It's always been an NE thing. I'll sit around daydreaming. When I was a kid, I'd imagine all kinds of crazy shit. I have all these pretend worlds that I would go visit. And anytime that I was bored, I'd try and tune shit out and imagine my pretend stuff. Judy Dennis says, I don't see anybody else doing MBTI Enneagram connections on YouTube, and I think you get lots of views if you started doing that in depth. Well, that's possible. I might try a couple of them. I mean, I probably will at some point. The thing is,
Do what?
MBTI Enneagram connections. Well, like the thing I just explained, where you take a number and here's how an ESTP 5, whatever. I think certain types really are very unlikely to be other kind of types. I mean, Enneagram types. So it's very unlikely for an extrovert to be a 5. It's very unlikely for an introvert to be maybe to be a 3, maybe. I don't know. It's unlikely for an extrovert to be a 5, it would seem to me. It's unlikely for an ESTP or an ENTP to be a 2. That's much too self-effacing. I don't see anybody else. Oh, did you have a bad swimming experience as a child? No, I had good swimming experiences. I got swimming lessons at a very young age. My grandmother had a pool, and she just lived not that many blocks away. It was full of swimmings.
1, 2.
When I first read the 5 type description, I decided that I couldn't be a 5 because I wasn't smart enough. How ironic. That's I clung to Enneagram now. That doesn't mean you're not intelligent. It means you have a different wheelhouse of judgment, and it serves a different purpose. The thing is, INFPs tend to be pretty satisfied being INFPs and seem to understand that they are first and foremost people who have preferences and can be made happy by having their wants and desires fulfilled and by avoiding things they don't like, knowing who you are and what you want and how to make yourself happy is quite a feat of intelligence. So it's just a different kind of intelligence. I don't like IQ at all. TI is TI, and obviously TI is good at TI. The major fear of the 5 is that they aren't intelligent enough for life. What's the major fear of the 7? That they aren't diligent enough for life? Daydreaming and zoning out, what's the difference? I think daydreaming is being pretending. I don't do a whole lot of daydreaming anymore, but I still do some. I think of zoning out as being like just sort of thinking about something, like I gotta make sure to stop over there on the way home to pick up these things. That's not daydreaming. That's just sort of zoning out on something. Or just sort of staring into space thinking, I wonder what's over there. That's zoning out. What type of MBTI would you say are the most in denial of their typing? ESFPs. That one's pretty straightforward. Nobody wants to be an ESFP. I don't know. And ESFPs have that weird kind of 6-slot FE where they don't get how to manage other people's perceptions of them, how to use FE effectively, but they insist on getting the FE outcomes they want. And so they try to force it. Everything's like ham-fisted with their FE. Matthew Alistair. You're not a 5. You're a 3.7. Seven's basic fear is being deprived and trapped in pain. Yeah, that's my basic fear. I don't like discomfort. I don't like not being able to have the shit I'm used to having when I want it. And, that's true. That's an important fear. Avoid discomfort. Avoid things like I hate being. Well, this proves Delilah is a 7 as well, and that's the thing. Delilah may be an ESTP instead of an ENTP, but she's definitely a 7 because she's the same way. She's like she doesn't like to ever ride anybody else's car because it's slightly less comfortable for her, and she's afraid of not being in control of driving, and she's always very like, I don't want to have to go do that. I don't want to commit to doing that. Like very avoidant of things that lock her into potentially discomfort for periods of time.
It's pretty annoying.
7's basic desire is to be happy and satisfied and to find fulfillment. I agree with you on that. I find contentment would be another way to put it. I think Jesus was an ENTP. Jesus was all types, okay? He was one part ESFP. You could do like a super Christian-friendly MBTI thing where you talk about the ways in which Jesus represents the best of each type.
Okay, now you're down to 27. You're pretty boring.
Yeah, it's been bouncing back and forth between 27 and 33 or so for.
Need to I don't know, spice it up a little bit because I'm completely bored.
Okay, well, you're bored, Kim. That doesn't mean everybody who's watching is bored.
Ask.
Is everybody bored? I mean, they wouldn't be watching it if it was that boring to them.
Well, they probably just have some background noise.
Okay, well, Jesus Christ, woman. 7 is one of the things 7 is boredom. That's a form of being in discomfort, you know? Why do SI users sometimes forget about body posture and home order, although SI is so very remembering? It's kind of ambiguous to me. Well, it depends where it is in the stack. Kim doesn't really think much about body posture very much, but she does think about home order and where everything is and what state everything is.
Right, Joey Jojo, Shabba-dabba-doo?
Couldn't that just be general SI familiarity bias? I'm not sure what that is referring to in that sentence. What that is referring to in that sentence. How do ENTJs use FE? My older brother is an ENTJ and he seems to have strong FE. He likes to lead, so it's definitely utility. Well, H slot is in some ways our most efficacious function. It's what we get the most accomplished with. And my YouTube channel is a perfect example of that. The reason
Hi between two worlds.
there's two main reasons why I've attained whatever level of success I've attained, which is, you know, medium-ish, medium small or whatever. But it's number one, I just keep making videos about whatever. Some of them successful, some of them fail, some of them whatever, but I just keep cranking them out. I've been doing it for years, just as a default, like using my 8 slot function of doing the legwork of doing the thing. But the other reason being my dominant function and my tool combined, meaning it's because I'm very verbally fluid and verbally capable because of my attention habits. The thing is, really, without the SE, nothing happens. So that's the reason why I've attained whatever level of success I've attained is my 8 slot. And I think that's true for everybody in life. Is they attain the successes they attain primarily because of their 8 slot function. This is the highlight of my existence. What is this in that instance here? Quality Kim, I'm enjoying this thoroughly. Oh, yeah. Oh, so they're answering your question.
I know.
Eric, you're fine. You just keep being you. I am highly entertained and fascinated. Tell Kim it's a highlight.
So exciting to spend a day with him.
Let's see. I'm an
They all
EST.
envy me. They wish they could.
I'm an ESTJ, and I think sometimes I focus more on. It is, Kim. Don't you find it delightful hanging out with me?
Not always.
Okay.
This is Nerd Friday night.
Your mom's face is Nerd Friday night. I'm an ESTJ, and I think sometimes I focus more on FE than I do FI for some reason. Yeah, the same thing. Your 8 slot function. Hi, Kim says between two worlds.
I said hi.
FE is ENTJ role function. The role function used to obtain motivation for dominant functions. I wouldn't say it's a motivation for them. I'd say it's the necessary complement for them. So it's like SE serves my NE in two ways. Number one, it provides external data that I can use in real time if I'm freestyling something. So I can pick up on shit in the environment. The perfect example.
Jay can actually bully for sure.
Oh yeah.
I'm all fun and games until someone gets hurt.
So it's like SE can provide data in real time for me to use NE off of. The perfect example of that being The Usual Suspects. At the end of that movie, they do this thing where it's revealed that Kaiser Soze has been making shit up by just seeing things on the shelves, right? But it can also provide sort of on the metaphysical plane, it provides it provides the actual impactfulness of any idea. If an idea just stays as an idea and never gets expressed externally or rendered into some sort of time object that provides utility to other people, then there's no way to achieve in the FE level. So it's like your 1 and your 3 and your 8 work together to make sure your 3 is satisfied. It's not even a hidden talent. It's the thing that you don't appreciate very much. You don't value it particularly, and you don't like it when it is valued too much. But it's a thing you do kind of reflexively autopilot. You don't make many mistakes with it. You're not going to use it for evil. And it's your balance function, but you're also likely to be insecure about it. Well, Joel Miller, What you need to do is visit a hairdresser and ask if you can sweep up some of the hair off of the floor, and then glue that onto your face. Okay?
I have plenty of that for you.
Yeah. Jeff Barnes says he dislikes ESTJFE. Don't take offense, though. You're my conflictor socionic stuff. Okay, so Kim also dislikes ESTJFE. Who's got ESTJFE, Kim? My dad.
Oh,
My dad has ESTJFE. Your mom also has ESTJFE.
fucking annoying.
So if you're a tool function user of the thing, you're not going to like 8 slot function.
Oh, cry? Oh, cry?
My dad uses FE for very efficacious purposes, right? He employs it when it's useful to him.
Never.
What makes ESTJFE so annoying, Kim?
It doesn't even exist.
Kim, what do you think all the time when he makes a point of like complimenting your food and stuff?
Okay. It rarely exists, and when it does, it's so uncomfortable for them that it makes it uncomfortable for me.
It's not uncomfortable for them. It's just awkward. It's just stilted.
Okay. So it's so awkward for them that it's for me.
It's not awkward. It's stilted. The obvious that it's like it's got this manufactured feel to it. Like they're
like your feelings.
Like my feelings, I guess, yeah. But the thing is, it's more like my SE. It's just it's used without being respected. ENFJ FE is also annoying. You're right about that. That's going to be, for me, the reason I find it annoying is because it doesn't withstand any TI scrutiny. And unlike ESFJs, they don't want you to correct them on their TI. They run away from any kind of correction. How is an INFJ using SI? Well, I mean, they keep track of their finances and they keep a relatively neat home, or can, depending on the INFJ. Male INFJs are less likely to be tidy like that.
A neat home?
Well, you're an ISFJ.
Do we keep a neat home?
Yeah, we do. We keep a tidy home. It's because of you, not because of me. I mean, not that I don't help. It's just that she provides the impetus to do things. She'll assign me tasks and stuff. And sometimes I'm more cooperative than others. Sometimes I'm in the mood to do tasks and sometimes I'm not. But we keep a tidy home. But as INFJs, women INFJs are more likely to keep a tidy home because they're going to be more judged if it's not. And that's what matters a lot to them. INFJ males can get away with a certain amount of mess, so they'll get away with it. They'll use as much SI as they need to
yeah, I don't feel right in the world unless I'm tidy.
Right. See, INFJs can feel fine in mess, but it depends if they get visitors at their house too. So you get visitors at your house, you're an INFJ, you're going to put on a good front, you're going to make sure your house is clean. ESTJ FE seems insecure or smarmy.
Yes.
Yeah. Insincere or smarmy. Yeah, it does seem that way, but it's not. It's just clumsy. It seems that way to intuitives. I don't think it necessarily seems that way to the sensors. Well, I mean, it does to Kimberly. But who would you rather be handcuffed with? An ENFP or a CS Joseph?
CS Joseph.
An ENFP dude or CS Joseph? Or do I get to the ENFP get to be a chick? I assume it's a dude. Well, I mean, do I get to pick the ENFP? I'll take the ENFP. But if I get a random ENFP, I'll take CS Joseph because at least he and I can talk about cognitive functions. I'm an INFP, and my mom is an ISFJ. It's surprising how much we argue for the most conflict avoidant types. Yeah, ISFJs, that is a Enneagram thing. It is not an MBTI thing. So whether or not you are into conflict and like to throw down has everything to do with your enneagram functions and nothing at all to do, or your enneagram type, and nothing at all to do with your cognitive functions. I like to throw down because I got an 8 in my tri-type. Kimberly also likes to throw down because she's got an 8 in her tri-type. And she is as relentless and scrappy a warrior as you will encounter, and unfair as hell, and just no fun at all to fight with. Did my sound quit? Can you guys hear me? If you not run her over with tea. The only reason I clean is if people are coming over. If I pull out the vacuum, my kids ask, who's coming over? Joe, Shabadoo, I feel you, dog. I feel you. All right. See, that's what I'm saying. I always have a mess. You'll make fun of my car all the time. Okay, well, you're probably FI. But you could be an INFJ because you're a dude. And if you know, it depends on how much you have thought about how to process the social implications of people making fun of your messy car. If you think it works in your favor in some capacity as like a quirk or something, or you make self-deprecating jokes about, and you've thought all that through, then you might be an INFJ. If you just sort of like shrug and go, well, I don't care what they think, then you're an INFP.
It's a fruit. It's a fruit. It's a fruit.
A tomato is a fruit. It's a fruit that is not as sweet as other fruits. So we don't think of it as a fruit because it's used in savory foods like spaghetti sauce and ketchup. It's sort of like the base of chutneys made out of tomatoes. Namely, tomatoes are the base of that, yes. Here we will remove your pants and underwear, revealing your beautiful nude body. You will?
Oh my god.
I'm surprised. TI says fruit, FE says vegetable. That's true. TI says fruit, FE says vegetable. Or TE says vegetable too. You use it like a vegetable, you don't really use it like a fruit. Ketchup is mainly soy. I don't know what kind of ketchup you're eating.
Soy chip.
Not the good kind of ketchup, obviously. You gotta probably eating gluten-free ketchup. You gotta insert more gluten into your ketchup if you want to live well. You gotta put gluten and salt. Those are the 2 ingredients to good health. Do you think propositional logic is transcendental? If so, what about alternative systems of logic? I don't know what transcendental would mean in that context. I think propositional logic is implied by grammar. I mean, it's implicit to grammar. It is a grammar. It's what grammar is. The fact that we have an ability to use language means that we have to have symbols that have definitional constraints to them, and things can either be an example of that thing or not. And it's a binary status in that regard. So, I mean, yes, a thing can be multiple things. This could be a cat. It's a picture of a cat, but not actually a cat, But the distinction is still there to be made. And so, in that capacity, things are constrained by words allow us to communicate about things that are fundamentally unconstrained as though they were constrained, like the words themselves. So it's implied by the fact that we have a grammar that there be a propositional logic. If we're going to have conditionality, if we are able to speak about the idea that if state X were to occur, then outcome Y would correlate with it, or would come along with it, I guess, or coincide with it, then that it's implied by conditionality. It's like it's necessarily the case that there be a propositional logic if we have any kind of conditional statements. So
okay, we're at 2 hours and 1 minute and 28 seconds. Don't forget to eat plenty of cheese.
Okay, I'm gonna wrap it up here in the next 5 minutes or so. and really gets very frustrated when I do these live streams. It's weird. It's weird how reactive she is to them, because she doesn't respond like this to my normal video making process. If I'm making videos like Tech Police videos, she'll be happy to sit here and make them with me and have fun and stuff. But if I'm doing this,
it's not just you talking all the time.
Right. Okay, well, I self-identify as an INFJ, but I find almost all INFJ YouTubers boring and nearly unwatchable. Thoughts?
Well, that's what we think about you, Joey.
I don't know what's going on with Kim tonight, you guys. I'm not sure.
I was kidding. I was just joking.
Well, I mean, INFJs are not necessarily going to be super entertaining. That's a good question, Hambone. Because they're going to be really careful, and so they're not going to be taking a lot of risks. If they're particularly artistically inclined INFJs, then they may produce some very interesting content, but they're probably going to be very perfectionist about it as well. So they're not going to make a lot of content. The ones who do make sufficient amount of content for you to regularly decide to watch them, they're probably going to be making, like Eric Thor, for example. Eric Thor makes content that's very watchable. I can sit there and watch an Eric Thor video, and he's pleasant to listen to, and I like to hear him say his J's, his yays, and whatnot. But I don't ever feel like I'm being presented with any particularly mind-blowing insights or anything, because that's not what he's using his NI for, really. He's using his NI to make a successful YouTube channel, and he's very successful at doing that. That doesn't necessarily mean being compelling. It means being pleasant, watchable, easy to consume. So videos that are a certain length and that stay on point and have lots of FE and yada yada. Okay, so do you think there's a correlation between being addicted to role-playing games and being a narcissist? No. Kim is rowdy, yes. Her gobbler is oozing blood. That's well put, Sir Bumpkin. And watchable is ruining this country, bringing the accuracy. Well, it's spoken like a TI user. Sir Bumpkin's an ABCDE. And he asked me a question, have I ever smoked crack? Yes, I have, actually. It was a very, very long time ago. It was probably 19 or something. I smoked it one time. And I got sick. I got a chest infection. And it was, I like drained my bank account to get more crack. It's a weird drug. It like makes you, primary effects is make you want to get more crack. Anyways, the one and only time I did it. You're gonna get some crack? Okay, cool. I don't really want any crack, to be honest. The difference between conditionality and cause effect. Well,
I'm gonna give you butt crack.
Cause effect is unconditional. So if I burn my hand here, I can't say, okay, now let's pretend I burned my hand and have the wound just instantly heal and whatever, right? So it's non-conditional. Actions that lead to impacts are non-conditional, and they're places them in the physical dimension rather than the metaphysical. Metaphysical actions are conditional up to a point. Once you sign your name on something or commit to something verbally, then, for example, you cut off your conditionality. And so we use conditionality as a way of discussing things without committing to things, for example, is one usage of it. Crack is good, says Sir Blumpkin. Well, it's dramatic. I think we can agree on that. If you were to walk in, for example, to your child's preschool and all the teachers are sitting around smoking crack pipes, that would be a dramatic thing to walk in upon. And you'd probably be like, wow, you guys really like that crack, don't you? I'm so happy you're my child's teacher. I think Enneagram type is key to attraction and repulsion. I dislike type 9s who dance around with words instead of type 5. I enjoy listening to type 4 or 5 INFJs. Do ENFJs tend to use others a lot? Yeah. You think? That's what they do. That's how they get by in the world. The thing is, no, I have used, well, I've smoked it before. I've never shot anything before. I did smoke heroin at some point a long time ago again. It made me sick. It made me puke. All opiates and opioids make me feel sick. So that's why I don't ever do them. Can sociopaths be any of the MBTI types? I don't. I mean, there certainly are some types are much more likely to be than others. If you could, direct your attention to someplace other than politics. Could you imagine an INFP sociopath? I mean, they'd have to have been warped and twisted. I'm more of a hallucinogenic lover. I do like mushrooms. I'll take them if they come around them. If I come upon them, I'll definitely take them. But I don't want to take acid. I took it when I was younger, and I had some bad trips. I first smoked weed when I was 14. More or less been smoking it ever since, although with some stretches where I didn't. Ren, your name sounds familiar. I think I typed please son. My 12-year-old brother is an ENFJ, and he's very manipulative. He'll be a future sociopath. Jokes. He just needs to develop more. INFJ. Oh. Where do you get all your weed? From the weed store. I go down to the weed store in Pomona and I buy some weed. Your thumbnail from one of your older videos, that happened to be Bill from the Hertzfeld movie, It's Such a Beautiful Day. I have no idea. It might be. Sometimes they take images from Google Images. I don't know what they are. No, Frank James is not an INFJ. I did a Type Police video on that. I don't watch his channel at all, but I did watch it to do a Type Police video. What MBTI type would be the first AI? Well, it would probably be INTJ. You'd have to figure out the FI part, but the NI and the TE are things that are easier to model than SI. Don't question the type, please.
Wouldn't it be good to hey Nutty?
Yes.
Shouldn't you be like reading the question out loud that you're answering, so people don't have to look at what you're answering?
I usually do. I've been reading almost everything out loud. His FE is amazing, Eric. Maybe it's such good second slide FE you didn't notice it. Well, I mean, I don't have to notice his FE. I just have to notice whether or not I like him. Right? It didn't work on me, obviously. Not that I disliked him, but Jordan Spike, that's a good question. The train horn is a tritone, an F and a B. Does perfect pitch have anything to do with functions? Note another tritone is the dial tone on a telephone. So Jordan Spike, yes, it does, and it correlates with the metaphysical functions. The more metaphysical you are, the more auditory you are, because most of our symbolic exchanges are auditory.
What MBTI type is Sam Harris?
I go back and forth with him. He's either an INFJ, an ENTP, or an INTP. The Amazing Atheist? I don't know. What cognitive function placement makes you a bad driver? Well, I was
Chinese.
yeah, being Chinese is a big part of that. So if you're an ENTP Chinese person, then you're a bad driver. And Jordan Peterson's an ENTJ. Okay, I accept Harris is not an INTP. I think he's an INFJ. I think Sam Harris is an INFJ. I think he's a very smart INFJ, but he could be an ENTP. He's definitely a TI user.
David Bowie?
No, I'm not David Bowie. Did you mistake me for David Bowie, Cosmic Pentastar? Would you like me to channel David Bowie? What? Hello, I'm David Bowie. Little China girl. Pew, 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 pew. How do TE users approach philosophy? Wrong. They don't get it at all. They think that if it doesn't have a particular teleology, then it's useless or pointless. You know, they'll tend to attach to certain. They're looking for the correct school of philosophy to ascribe to, and it just doesn't work like that. You know. David Bowie went away. I did channel him for a little bit, but when he started going into Ziggy Stardust, I said, look, we don't have time for that right now. We do not have time for your sort of proggy androgynous 70s rock, okay?
What the heck are you saying?
Ziggy Stardust, right? Isn't that what that song is? I don't remember the words to it, you know? Who remembers words of things? I don't. Yeah, Ziggy played guitar. That's all I remember of that song. Meow, meow, meow. The rest of it is just meow meows.
Yeah.
Would you get into the car of an Asian ENFP driver for $1 million? Boy, that's a tough question. If you make an INFP driver, I think it might even be tougher because they got Polar SE.
You asked that wrong. Would you get in as a passenger? No. He'd get in the car, but he'd insist on driving.
What's of an Asian ENFP driver?
Oh, yeah, he's right there. Yeah, no, you probably wouldn't. You wouldn't even get in the car if I'm driving, and I'm not Asian.
Eric, do you have a favorite saying?
Yeah.
My favorite saying is probably...
Rye.
The only solution is oatmeal.
No, he doesn't only have money. He has 8 million.
Yeah, I got 8 million favorite sayings. The only solution is oatmeal is definitely up there, though, for sure. I just made it up right now, but, you know.
We'll be hearing about it.
Yeah, it's going to be around now, for sure. Whatever your problem is, remember the old saying, the only solution is oatmeal.
You know, there's an old saying.
What brand do I smoke? Marlboro Reds. American Marlboro Reds. most American in Marlboro of all the Reds. Let's see. What MBTI type is chat? I'm not sure how to answer that question. After 20 years of marriage, my personify has shifted to my hubby. No, that's good to hear. The only stomach ache is oatmeal? No, TJ, you got it totally wrong. That's not the same. Soft pack. That's right. Sizzop Pizzak. Personality hippie? Hippie hubby? After 20 years of marriage, my personify has shifted to my hubby. Hippie. Hippie hubby.
Oh, Sheila.
Oh, Sheila. Maybe you're with your dual. If you're with your dual, you'll become more like that type. Like I become more like ISFJ the longer I'm with Kimberly. And Kimberly becomes more like ENTP a little bit. Listening to Ms. Russ. I see you talking about TJ Music 24's music. Sheila. Thanks, man. That's awesome. I think we are INFJ and ESTP. Oh, well, if your duals are going to become more like each other over time, it's true. I've definitely gotten a lot more ISFJ-ish since I got with Kimberly.
I'd say so too.
Try to go to bed when I can and,
organize, keep things cleaner.
Yeah. I don't know how much I don't obviously know what Kimberly was like before I got with her, but I would not necessarily say she's gotten more ENTP like over the course of the time I've been with you. Do you think so?
Yeah.
You have?
Yeah.
Okay, so what would you say? Give me some sort of an example that I could get my fist around.
Well, like your many instructions you would give me in the beginning, I now just kind of, I don't know, I just kind of follow suit. Like, I don't know.
Well, I mean, you definitely argue more fairly now. Like, you're not as. I think you're more TI than you used to be when we first got together. You're like more willing to consider things from a disinterested calculus.
Yeah.
I guess that's true. Yeah. As TE Polar, should I go into something like data science or computer science? I would tell for mathematics. I think NI Dom TI third slot is a good combination for strong mathematical abilities. You should be fine as long as the field is purely abstract. If it gets into actual problem solving, then you got yourself a problem. Does Kim secretly know more about MBTI than you? Should be humble and hiding it? I don't think so. And she is. She's being really consistent about that and really sold me on it.
I still don't understand it after 2 years.
Rebecca, I like that comment a lot. The sun is up, I'm out of bed, I lay an egg, and then I head to the cruiser on the street. Press the pedal to the metal with 3-toed feet.
Woohoo!
Thank you for quoting that, though. I appreciate that. Jordan Spike, the TE user, I am not partial to mathematics, so I wouldn't say it's a TE thing, although I could probably figure it out. I feel like TI would be better at it. TI is better at the TI is better at mathematics, pure math, because it's mostly an analytical process, whereas TE is better at stuff like chemistry, where you have an actual connection to the physical world.
What actual type do you think Red is? Not the type you want her to be, but what type do you think she is?
I think she's in...
Not what you want her to be.
No, I think she's an ESFJ.
You do?
I mean, don't you? She's awfully social and friendly and nice and wants to be around us and you know, if she's not, she might be an ENFJ. It's hard to tell N from S in a chicken. That's the truth.
Well,
I gotta complain about that.
Too?
I don't know. I think it's easier to tell in a cat. Like normal is clearly an intuitive.
She does provide breakfast.
What type is my cat? PP? PP is an ISFP. ISFP.
An ISFB, bitch.
She's an ISFP. She's very particular in her loving. Like she loves me a lot more than anybody else. And
she's a bitch most of the time.
And
she
she's
has
kind of a bitch to Kim.
24/7.
Which is nice to me. And she and I have a very close relationship. She's also very demanding. She wants what she wants. I mean, most cats are, but like Normal is very different. Normal likes being pet, but if you stop, he doesn't care, really. And he won't come over and get more pets. He's an intuitive. And when he was a kitten, he'd be very SE, right? Like he'd jump all around and stuff, but clumsy, like fall over. And he still does.
Jump on a container and only half of his legs reach it.
We were originally going to call Normal Junior because he's just like me, and we could tell right away, like he was just like me. He's an ENFP, but PP is an ISFP, and Mason is probably an ESTP, I would guess. And Violet is like probably ESFP. What does a bad ISFP look like? Well, I don't think they're not really come out bad. They may end up indulging too much in like getting drunk and stuff and have problems associated with that. But that doesn't make them bad. It just makes them less optimally functioning for their own well-being. Not to sound creepy, at least not obviously, but when is the next installment of your bathtub video series coming? You know, I got a lot of pushback on that bathtub video series. I don't know why.
Yeah, no bath.
Yeah, thank you, Jordan. Great names for cat, Normal and PP. The cat's PP's name is actually Capio, but we just started calling her PP. I don't know, and well, I mean, at first I call her P or P. At first I call her Pio, and then I call her P, and then PP. But I mostly call her the P end of the P, which is sort of her full official nickname.
And then when Eric's not around, we call her the B and the B.
Well, the other people in the house don't recognize her glory the way I do. See, I'm always praising her. I'm always telling her what a beautiful cat she is and how she moistens the tenders of my dampness.
And then you go into the room 10 minutes later and tell me the exact same thing, and you think I'm supposed to believe it.
Well, you should believe it. It means I'm feeling right then. I'm having feelings.
But what about genuine feelings?
Those are genuine feelings.
No, not if you feel the exact same feelings for your cat.
It's not exactly the same. I don't want to fuck the cat.
But if she told you she wanted to.
I still wouldn't want to fuck the cat. Well, Sheila W., I'm sorry about being R-rated. My daughter loves your Type Please song. She wants to watch you, but you were too R-rated for her.
Yeah, right?
But she sings your song. I am pretty R-rated sometimes. Sometimes I'm not at all, but sometimes I'm really R-rated.
Imagine taking him out in public.
You know, I do tend to make jokes like jokes about like anal sex and facial cum shots and stuff. And by the way, Spatial Fun Shot is a great band name if you're looking for band name. Yeah, so I don't know. If I were to make any sort of resolve regarding the matter, I would just immediately violate it. So that's why I use FE. I teach as well and wouldn't want my students to feel that way. I had an ESTJ chemistry teacher. I disliked the experience, especially when we had to do practical experiments. Major time, I felt my TE polar when we had to follow detailed experiments. Yeah, I hate that shit. I hate that kind of stuff where you've got to keep track of complex formulas and the progression of these things, and it's just too TE heavy a form of TI or too TI light a form of TE or something, you know. Strangest MBTI couples? Well, I mean, a very strange couple would be, I think, like ENTP and ESFP would be a disastrously strange couple. There's no way they would get along for more than about 5 minutes. They would immediately start butting heads, and they'd just be constantly butting heads. Another very strange couple would be INTJ and ISTP. That would be a strange couple because INTJ, ISTP, TIT, NI versus SE. Maybe not. Maybe that's a pretty good couple, actually. INTJ, ISTP, that'd be a weird couple, but it'd be a pretty good couple. Okay, it would be a strange one, but it'd be good. They'd be all T's, right? It'd be like the INTJ would start with NI, singular, about the best logical way to do things. The INTP would start by doing a consistency metric and then executing things. It'd be very complementary, right? So you can imagine the INTJ starts the ideational process, works out which the ISTP validates against TI. The INTJ then works out the practicalities of how to implement it, which the ISTP then implements. It would seem to be a very productive couple potentially. Dual types may seem like a weird coupling. It's true. In a lot of ways, you might think that Kimberly, I mean, probably people watching on the internet probably think that Kimberly and I make sense as a couple because I think we appear to make a lot of sense as a couple in general on the in videos. She's got good FE and she's got excellent sense of when to, step back, when to chime in. I mean, it's not excellent sense. Like, for example, in this video, if she's bored, then she'll chime in, and sometimes that doesn't correlate with how the viewing audience is reacting to a given thing. But regardless,
at that point, I don't really care.
Right. Once, yeah. Like right now, she's on her phone and she's doing whatever she's doing on her phone. She's in an ISFJ Facebook group that she sometimes has very significant showdowns in there. So like she'll get very, very huffy about this person left a kind of a mean comment to me or something. And I've got to get them, Eric, come and help me say what to say, which I love, of course. ENTPs love that. They want to be asked, how should I say this? You know how to say things well. ENTPs want to be asked that. What about two of the same type, say two ESFJs in a relationship? I don't know. I think it might actually work. I can imagine myself being with another ENTP. I suspect, though, that in that instance, both parties would feel like there's no audience, that there's no, they both get the fact that the other person only sort of nominally cares what the other person is talking about unless it's something that they're linked together to work on. But if they worked on shit a lot together, then that might be a different question. It might be a different answer. My sister is ISFJ and I adore her. I wish Iz was as sweet as her. I wish Iz was as sweet as her. which was as sweet as her as well.
I
Sheila.
was.
It also comes down to how mature the two types are. That's true. Maturity has something to do with something.
I'm very immature.
Kimberly and I are both pretty mature, actually. I mean, like we're
We're done raising our kids, so it doesn't matter.
yeah.
I mean, we're not done, but we don't have kids in the home.
Well, I think we both. The thing is, you got to compare yourself in terms of maturity to yourself, really, because compared to how I used to be, I'm very mature. Compared to other 47-year-olds, most people would
compared to how I
probably.
used to be, I'm very immature.
Is that true?
Mm,
So I guess that's the thing. That's how you become more ENTP like.
for sure. For sure.
How long have we been married?
Mm,
We're not technically legally married.
No, we're technically legally engaged because Mo over here won't marry me. He put a ring on it, and he thinks that's all he has to do.
IST. Let's see. ISTJ ENFJ couple. Not gonna work because ISTJ is polar FE, and ENFJ is FE Dom, and that's gonna be a nightmare. It's gonna be supervision relationship. Let's see. No, it won't be supervision. It'll be benefactor. I don't know. It's not a good relationship. Won't work. FE the FE of ENFJ won't work on the STJ, and then the SI of ISTJ will just go right over the head of ENFJ. I have a love-hate relationship with my FE. I value the tool. Can you talk more about tool slot or second slot? Second slot FE is what Kimberly has, and it's an approach to dealing with everything that's external to her, basically. So she's got lots of stuff that she does that's sort of internal to her. For example, doing the laundry or worrying about what's coming up on her schedule or taking a bath or going to bed and sleeping for 12 hours or complaining about her feet hurting or all that kind of stuff that's her SI nature that's predominating everything. But whenever she's dealing with the external world in any way that's not part of her, so like doing the laundry is not really the external world. That's part of SI because it's part of the identity that she's maintaining. It's like, okay, I remember that I got to do this laundry and then I got to go over there. And she's actually thinking those words and repeating them to herself on multiple times throughout the day. And that's why she is an SI dom. But external world stuff means basically interacting with people, because when she interacts with systems that cause them in the external world, her first response is to say, Eric, what does that mean? So, for example, when one of the cars needs to be pulled in, her first response is to tell me to do it. It's not to do it herself. And that's because she's TE polar, not because she's SE polar. In other words,
because I do it, and then you get mad at me and tell me I've done it wrong.
Well, okay. This is just, it's like, Kim, the reason that you do that is nothing to do with me at all. It has to do with your habits of attention. Okay. So when there's a problem, instead of like most types, anyone with TE anywhere other than 7th.
Wrong.
Do you hear this shit? Anyone with TE anywhere other than 7th will spend a certain amount of time thinking about how to solve the problem themselves. But a TE 7th person will immediately think, there's a problem here. And what's my solution? Well, let's see. Who's nearby me, or who do I have that I can talk to about this? And then they talk to that person. Now, for most things in life, for Kimberly, that person is me. So, basically she walks through the world thinking about how every given circumstance is an opportunity to assign me a task. So, for example, like when I get out of the car and I got my drink, she says, "While we're getting out of the car, why don't you carry those waters in?" And normally I would just carry them in, but in this particular instance, I was just like, "No, I'll do it later." I don't know. Yeah, so I mean, why is she like that? Well, because she's 7th slot TE. How she gets things accomplished, how she solves problems is by getting other people to do it. That's what polar TE means. Okay, I witnessed an ISTJ, ENFJ marriage firsthand. They're very stable, relatively speaking. I'm afraid what will happen when the last of their kids move out and they have to be alone together. Well, yeah, I mean, the thing is, I guess if it were to be stable and work, it would be because the ISTJ's hidden agenda is to love, and the ENFJ's nature is to manage perceptions or to be loved. If the ISTJ is positive enough about the ENFJ, then that's not inconsistent. They just have to be, I guess they're both focused on the kids as well. It's like the NI truth of the matter for the ENFJ might be the kids come first. The TE functional how to get there might be maintain the relationship. It could explain why they would be stable, but they're not going to be seen eye to eye about a lot of things. It's going to be difficult. ISTJ is fairly adaptable to some kind of bad behavior by the other party. They'll put up with some shit, but let's see here. So would you say ISFJs are less independent? Less independent than whom? Less independent than a newborn baby? Yes. I mean, the funny thing is, Kimberly managed single, for a long time with her son, and I don't know what was it like before we were together, Kim, as far as getting shit accomplished.
Very, very, very dependent, but I had to learn to be independent.
INFP's TE is seeking but understanding. You understand what TE is if you're an INFP, but you would like to delegate it to somebody else. You can do it when called upon, and if you're experienced as a response to some sort of trauma, you'll do it very well. You'll be very effective with it. So if there's a pressing need to use it, you'll be very effective with it. But by and large, you like to delegate it to somebody else. Polar TE it doesn't ever be very effective. Because it's polar, though, there are heuristics that are used as workarounds. So Kimberly has lots of memorized things that she'll apply, such as she'll remember to check, see if we should move the shit out of the way, or she'll remember that. Well, she'll also use her SE and notice things in the environment that can be potentially a problem, but that I maybe didn't notice, and bring those to my attention. But other than that, she doesn't really use it. She doesn't get it. She doesn't get that the thing about your polar is you just don't get that you don't get it that much. How much you don't get it, you don't get. Let's see. Is polar TE the same for INFJ and ISFJ? It's similar. It's just INFJs tend to they understand things as holistic truths that defy and parsing by either metric. You can parse it by TI and go, okay, this is logically consistent or not. You can parse it by TE too and say, well, how do we bring standard ordinal steps or an order of operations here? And INFJs dislike that a lot because it interferes with their NI approach to things. They don't want it to be breakdownable like that. Question for Ken, own future reference. Is the TE used by Eric's father sometimes overbearing for you? What about his use of SI? So the TE thing means the how to do shit, and the SI means
Yes, it's overbearing. What was the next question?
the SI. What about his SI? So SI for him is just basically he's liking things that are familiar, telling stories about the past.
So what was the question? Is it
Like how do you feel about his SI, or do you relate to it in a certain way or not? Or
yeah, I just pretend I'm interested.
okay, well, so in what way identify with him and get him? Put your phone down for a second.
I don't.
Okay. What video is silly? The guy calls out fake business speech patterns. Oh, I didn't see that. No. I'd like to see it. Would you say somebody who needs to develop their TE? I don't think you can really choose to develop functions like that. It's like as you age, if you're metacogniting about cognitive functions, in other words, you're thinking about it and able to distinguish between tension as you encounter them in your life. That's step one, is figure out how to go, oh, this is FI, or this is whatever, as you're experiencing it. And then after that, you'll necessarily optimize where you can. That's it. Hambone says, sorry, Kim, but you're a filthy censor. By the way, who's totally in agreement with you, Hambone, is Raul Diego. And as you see, I've got a what do you call it? Canvas back there, because Raul is planning on making another video. And in fact, he's already recorded the first part of it where he painted over the censor's self-portrait that was on this canvas when I got it from the thrift store. I had to paint over that to ready the. Thank you, Walter. We start by showing the self-portrait that was originally on that canvas, and show how much better the intuitive self-portrait is than the censor self-portrait.
Okay, do me a favor. Aaron.
Yes, darling.
And slowly sashay to the right so that people can look in the screen. Move your chair, but do it slowly so that she's looking in the camera. Turn your chair.
Jordan Spike. I actually love censors just fine. My woman's a censor. It's all just a joke.
Keep going. I want to see if she looks at the camera.
There.
Keep going. Keep going.
Why do I and INFJ keep becoming friends with ISTJs? My superego relationship and realize we're so different, the relationship is not fulfilling. I guess you're just an idiot, Jeff Barnes. I don't know why. You should stop that for sure. I'm just joking. Why do you keep becoming friends with ISTJs? Well, probably because there's a lot of ISTJs around for you to be friends with. You must be where ISTJs run rampant. Oh, my beautiful kitty friend. So good and true and just and fine and special. So important and true. So elegant and noble. Magnificent and wonderful.
Your loveliness astonishes me.
Oh my goodness. Your glorious beauty is astonishing me again. I'm constantly being astonished by your glorious beauty. Yes, I am. Constantly. Oh, yes.
Daddy's creepy.
Who is my
Just a
very,
little bit
very,
creepy.
very, very,
He is creepy,
very,
creepy,
very,
creepy.
very good kitty? Yes, you're a very, 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 very special lady. Yes, you're a very, 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 very special lady. Kim.
Creepy cat dad.
Yes, I've checked all the documentation I can find, and I've determined you're a very special kind of lady.
And you're
Oh,
a
yes,
very
you are.
creepy daddy. Very, 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 very creepy cat dad.
Oh, what a wonderful kitty that is, huh? If you're looking at kitties and you're saying, where are the wonderful kitties? There's one's anus right there. Some cat anus.
Where's her anus jewels?
Oh, my beauty. Oh, my glorious and extraordinary beauty of glory. Oh, my spectacular kitty friend. Oh, my magnificent kitty darling. Oh, the pets. Oh, yes. So good and true and just. And fine.
And
And
noble.
special.
And noble.
I want to be friends with the Antibees. Could you please give me advice how to go about doing it? Well,
Advice?
first you go up to them and you go, I want to be your friend, buddy. And they go, okay. And then you play. You play it, some game at it. Like, let's play. Make something with concrete. With concrete and words. Yes, Kitty is here. And she's bothering the microphone. You can probably hear her sniffing around it here.
And your sweatpants are bothering my microphone.
You can't find content like this anywhere. This is good stuff. I'm telling you, this is. You got your torch. Oh, there goes the cat. Wow, that was fun though. Kitty had a lot of fun in the live stream. I think she's been telling me she wanted to be on the live stream. See if Joseph would do this, like what I'm doing right now with a cat. Oh, wouldn't do this. Big difference. Thank you, Jonah Dempsey. I'm on page 78 of your book, Exciting Tables and Charts About Human Personality. It's so good. Thank you. You know what else is so good? You, Jonah Dempsey. You're so good.
No flips.
I can't do a flip. I can flip a coin. Heads or tails. If you get it right, you get a surprise from the universe. Heads or tails. If you said tails, then you get a surprise from the universe. If you said heads, no surprise. All right, I think I'm about ready to end this live stream.
Yeah,
It's been